Is this thing live? I think it's live. Looks like it to me. What is happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. So I tried putting together a video that was basically just a standalone video that wasn't going to be part of the live stream, but for whatever reason, I just really could not get through it. It's like I had a pretty strong first half of that video and the back half of it fell completely apart, which that'll happen. I mean, that's, when you're doing YouTube stuff and you're trying to put together videos, these things can just kind of float away. And so anyway, just kind of yammering on here while some of the folks get onto the live show. But I wanted to talk specifically about Harley Davidson and Harley Davidson's latest controversy with how they've been marketing to certain demographic out there. So I'm going to let a few more folks get in on the live, clean up my glasses of reading, and then we will dive into it. Shane is first in. What's up, man? Good to see you in the chat, my friend. I'm going to make it kind of a short and sweet one this evening. Been doing some longer form chats of late, so we're just going to kind of dive into this here. Well, let's go ahead and jump into it. That way, if you're watching it after live, you don't have to sit around and wait for the show to start. So let's get into it. First of all, talking about the controversy of Harley Davidson primarily marketing towards certain demographics and having certain products that folks just don't seem to resonate with. Now, Harley Davidson is a brand. It's an icon. There's no other motorcycle brand that I can think of that has the fervor behind it that Harley Davidson does, at least in the United States. I know in other areas, you've got brands like Triumph. Some areas, Royal Enfield even has some really strong love for it, but nothing can compare to Harley Davidson and how it just oozes and represents Americana. So with that being said, and of course, all the other connotations that come with that type of an image, you can only imagine how some of the folks that are Harley purists reacted when Harley Davidson came out with their Livewire. Any of the electric bikes that are out there, kind of hard to call them a motorcycle, although it is a bit more of a proper use of the word motor, right? Electric motor, gasoline engine. Anyway, to have that conversation about Livewire, which is now a standalone brand, but at the time was a Harley Davidson brand, a lot of folks had a problem with that. And I didn't quite understand that. This is a manufacturer that has right to build machines that may work better for folks in certain situations, Livewire being one of them. And so I thought, well, maybe that's kind of an interesting take on the American motorcycle, all the while watching people just pan that thing left and right. Now, a lot of that had to do with, well, a lot of it had to do with the fact that it was electric and not gasoline powered. A lot of folks have a hang up with that, but more to the point, a lot of folks had an issue with that bike because it was so flipping expensive, over $30,000. And that is a bit of an issue for folks. It's very difficult to shell out that kind of money for that type of a machine. One with very limited range being sold by a motorcycle manufacturer that touts highway cruisability, if you will. So in saying that, if that's a bad thing for you, then the next thing I want to talk about is going to be even worse. And that is the fact that Harley Davidson was marketing directly to the LGBTQ crowd. And that was something that I kind of found curious because, Harley Davidson, well, they sell motorcycles. Yes, of course they do. But they're big, burly, American type of a machine, right? But more than just motorcycles, they sell an image. And really, it's their image that you're buying more than the machine itself. And this is clearly on display if you walk into any Harley Davidson dealership, where not only will you see the machines that are on offer, and by the way, they are expensive, but not only do you see the machines, but you see all of the accessories. Harley Davidson will brand anything. But even more to that point, though, it's the clothes. You see a lot of guys wearing, well, when you walk through that dealership, you'll see, for sale at least, the leather boots, the leather chaps, the leather vest, the leather gloves, leather hats. You get the idea. They're selling an alternative lifestyle. And there is an old stereotype about the guy it's just a humdrum job, and he's wanting to get away from it all, and so he goes and he buys Harley and he gets all the gear to go along with it, all the accessories, and hits the open road on his Harley Davidson cycle. And it's an opportunity for that individual to identify as something that he is clearly not. He is not this tough guy, that tough guy image. That's not who this person is. They're an accountant, or they're whatever it is that they are. Doesn't matter what they do, but they're not that guy. But they want to identify as that entity. And so, they get all geared up and get on the machine and hit the open road. And I didn't really see a problem with Harley Davidson as an alternative lifestyle company marketing to an alternative lifestyle demographic. I didn't really see a problem with that, because to me, the two brands kind of go together hand in hand. In that respect. Plus, again, Harley Davidson, the fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders. If this is a viable revenue stream, I don't see any reason why bringing that revenue into the coffers would be a bit of a problem. But a lot of people seem to have a problem with it. So, here we are with that. But even more to the point, there are so many other brands that are out there now. And that rough and tumble tough guy image is just kind of fallen out of favor. It's kind of fake for a lot of people. It looks a little bit of a certain way to a lot of other folks, and people just don't want to be, they're just not into it as much anymore. There are other ways that you can spend your money. And keep in mind that a motorcycle is not a normal means of conveyance for most folks. I get it that in certain parts of the United States and in a lot of parts of the world, yes, motorcycles are a primary means of transportation, but not in the general sense of the term here in the States. It's an expensive toy. And so to own a Harley Davidson at the prices that they're asking for, a lot of people just aren't going to be into that. And so they're looking at other areas where they can spend their money. Harley Davidson really isn't the motorcycle for the everyman anymore, the way that it used to be. It used to be that if you had a full-time job, you could buy a Harley and, you could go for cruises and rides and you could do your thing. And it was a great thing to do. And it doesn't really work like that. This stuff's way too expensive now. So, again, for the guys that are really into Harley Davidson, I have a question for you. I'm not really into any brand. I mean, I am, but I'm not. But I'm certainly not into Harley Davidson, although I do like Harleys quite a bit. One of the first motorcycles, in fact, the first street bike that I ever really racked up miles on was an Evo Sportster 1200. So I kind of have a little bit of a connection to the brand in that respect. So but for you guys that are really deep into the brand, I do have a question for you. Are you more of a legacy type of a bike guy? Like, are you more into the true American V-twin air-cooled setup, or are you kind of cool with this new the new engines that are coming out? Would you be looking to buy one of those? And the reason why I ask that is trying to get a sense of where the modern Harley buyer is leaning and where they're going to go, say, in the next 3 to 5 years. Another reason why I asked that question is because, well, if I'm being honest, I want to lead into another question. How do you feel about those jobs? Because these aren't for the legacy bikes. These are for the newer Harleys that are on offer now. Those jobs, those manufacturing jobs are being sent to Thailand. Thailand. Yeah. Think about that for just a second. American jobs being outsourced to Thailand, but this is Harley Davidson. I thought this was Milwaukee's finest. I mean, this was, America before anything. This is America, 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 and then something else comes in fourth place. And they're going to send arguably their most technologically advanced engine and subsequently motorcycle production, not just across the border to Mexico or even worse, Canada. You're going to send that to Thailand? How does that work? How can you build something in Thailand that is supposed to be a purely American brand, still ship it to the United States and save money over building that machine right here? I don't understand it. Help me to understand this, make it make sense. I think that if I were a Harley fan, I would be a heck of a lot more pissed about the brand moving manufacturing jobs overseas. And I don't mean just like kind of overseas. We're talking freaking Thailand here, guys. So help me to understand what it is that would keep you brand loyal if the image of that bike isn't, well, let me reset. Is the image even tainted? And the reason why I asked that is when I was a kid, I was on that Sportster and I had some Harley nerd gatekeeper guy at a gas station tell me that Sportster wasn't a real Harley, whatever that freaking meant. I still don't know what that means. And I can't wade through all the alphabet soup of this is the Harley FT LGBTQ, whatever it is. I don't know what all the letters or any of that stuff means. But it was, I guess, on one of those, and I was on a Sportster, so I was on a lesser bike. And I guess the point that I'm getting to is, do you see those motorcycles that are being made in Thailand? Are those also going to be not real Harleys? And where does it start and where does it stop? I would kind of like to know, like, honestly, would like to be in the loop so that I can at least understand when folks are talking about the brand, what they are talking about. Because I figure you can buy it in a Harley Davidson dealership. It's kind of a real Harley. But again, I'm not in the know, so I can't say. But I think that Harley Davidson is in a weird spot right now, because even though if you look at their website and you look at their financials, the financials seem to be okay, but they're just now finding themselves in hot water, and they're just now finding themselves in the midst of a controversy. I'm curious to see where the brand goes, say, over the next 24 months, as production is moved out of the United States into Thailand for these, I guess, secondary tier motorcycles, not the legacy stuff. And as the folks that would be potentially buying those motorcycles either age out or are aging into, which is really the argument that people age into Harleys, they don't really age out of them. But as folks die out of Harleys, I guess I'm not really dying out, but I guess I don't know what really the right word I'm trying to find here. Anyway, as whatever that is, the age isn't getting younger for people to buy a Harley. And if folks aren't really finding themselves attracted to the brand anymore, and Harley Davidson is refusing to release motorcycles that would actually get folks excited, like the Bronx got so many people excited and then nothing happened with it. These are areas where Harley could have really done a good job of bringing, say, that new Roadster into the fold for folks like me that might not necessarily want or need a cruiser style motorcycle, but a Roadster, something that could go head to head with, say, the Triumph Bonneville or the Thruxton. Something along those lines would have been amazingly attractive to me. And regardless if you call it a real or not a real Harley, I would be extremely interested in a bike like that. Something around 110, 120 horsepower with just massive loads of torque. What would not be to love about that particular bike? But Harley Davidson refuses to make that, instead falling back on just, I guess, the tried and true big V twin architecture. God love them for it. And again, I love the bike. I really do. I think they're amazing machines. It's just that I think that they're an amazing curiosity for me. I would never personally own one. I'm just not into that type of riding unless they made the Bronx. And then I would be very hard pressed to not get one. I'd probably shed a couple of bikes in the fleet just to grab one of those, if I'm being totally honest. I'd love to have one of those to go along with my Bonneville. But there are a lot of folks, though, that are looking at Harley Davidson right now that aren't looking at Harley Davidson for the right reasons. They're looking at Harley as, well, they're not looking at them as a thing that they want to become a part of in terms of brand identity. And that's a bit of a problem. If you are trying to grow a brand in general, you kind of need to be building some excitement, and you need to be groundswelling the youth. And I hate to say it, but Harley Davidson just is not there for a lot of folks. And again, they're very expensive. They're very, I don't really want to say antiquated in design. They're just, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay. And Harley, God love them, you don't need to fix something that looks as good as they do and that makes the kind of torque that they do and that ride the way they do down the freeway. I really do kind of miss that Sportster 1200 that I used to ride. It was just such a neat motorcycle. And there's a lot that you can say that's positive about the old school Harley. But there's a lot of folks that aren't really all that interested in old school anymore. And with the advent of a lot of the import bikes, a lot of the European bikes, which are exceptionally good, the Triumphs are extremely difficult to beat. Without that type of a bike in their arsenal to go up against the likes of the Bonneville platform, and to do it well with a lot of power and a lot of American moxie, it just makes the brand look even older and older still. So let me check in with you guys real quick, and then I will get back to it. We're going to make it a bit of a short show tonight. Shane is in saying, what is up? So we get over here ordering parts and trying to find a good LS shop and tuner for the fifth gen, and trying to figure out what boost route I want to go with the 6.4 base 440 stroker build for the Challenger. Very nice. I suggest Pro Charger if you're looking to go 440. I don't like stroker motors with positive displacement superchargers. You've got to pulley the hell out of a positive displacement supercharger to make any boost. And if you went with one, you've got to go with a lot of displacement on your blower to keep up with your bottom end. So just any of the Whipples, any of the 3.0, 3.0 would keep up with it, make plenty of power. But 440 stroker with a positive displacement is just a recipe for breaking parts. So I'd probably go Pro Charger. It's easier to install. Just make sure you key your crank. Sovereign saying, I'm in. Got the ball guy with the flex in the cadence. I like it. Just finished another AI song. Very cool. Shane is in saying, sounds similar to the current Mopar brand story. Yeah, and that's part of the issue too. I mean, what we're looking at right now is a pair of American brands that just seem to be sliding into obscurity in one way or another. And if nothing else, the image is being lost. And you can draw parallels between Harley Davidson and Dodge pretty easily here. Both of them very American, iconic brands. They both market with a lot of loud exhaust noises and tire smoke and rock and roll. Man, I love it. And that's something that for me, that's something that I find. Summer, I don't know what recently dropped what video. Anyway, sorry, had a comment in the thing here. What I don't really get is, when I'm looking at, how do I explain this? When I'm looking at American brands right now, one of my key issues is that we seem to be losing all of the Americana in our brand. And at least Harley Davidson is keeping in line with their core demographic of big V twin, America crowd, big chrome, sticking with it, right? It's basically how do I put this? It's basically the last brand that is sticking with its core values, though, even though they've gone a little astray in different areas. Got to credit where it's due. Harley Davidson is really the last American motoring brand that is sticking to its guns. And you've got brands like Dodge, which has done completely away with the Challenger and the Charger in the way that you would expect them with a V8. You've got Chevrolet, which has done away completely with the Camaro. Ford, in terms of car brands, though, is still sticking with the V8. These are traditional American icons. And again, there's very few that are going to be sticking around here for much longer. So what we're hoping for is, we start seeing something coming from Harley that can maybe bring some youth back into the brand. Again, the fact that they're not building the Bronx is detonating my brain. I just can't get past that. I think that it does need to use that new 1200cc engine. It has got to be somewhere in the range of about 120 to 130 horsepower, just to make sure that it's got the power and the torque to get that frame moving, because it is, at the end of the day, still going to be a roadster, and it's still going to be fairly heavy, but it will be amazing with that power plant. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to get more excited about Harley Davidson just in general. I'm big into Triumph for most of my life, big into Japanese sport bikes. And it's been so long since I've ridden a Harley that I think that I may be forgetting just how good that they are. Although my Triumph T-Bird is really good too. But it will never truly be a Harley Davidson, for better or for worse in that respect. But if you've got a Harley, where do you stand in all of this? I mean, are you looking at that bike and are you thinking that this is like the last motorcycle that you're ever going to own? Or are you looking at that bike and are you thinking, man, if they only had something else that was newer or fresher, if you're that brand loyal, would you even go for a bike like the Bronx? Or have you, if you're a Harley owner, been entertaining motorcycles like maybe a Triumph Speed Twin or a Bonneville or a Thruxton or something along those lines that is a type of a motorcycle that Harley Davidson just flat out doesn't build? I know that there's quite a few folks that have owned Harleys that have gone away from those bikes in favor of some of the newer retro styled bikes, which in a way is kind of ironic when you think about it, because Triumph is just now really coming. I say just now, they've been doing it now for a number of years, but by comparison, Triumph is just now coming into their own as a motorcycle manufacturer that does retro extremely well, but that has not always been the case. And Harley Davidson has been retro without trying to be retro. They've just never changed. And so since they've never changed, that same engine architecture, the same look, the same ride, the same feel, the same all of that, with some bumps in power along the way, they've kind of become retro without ever even changing their recipe. So in that, that's one of the reasons why I like them so much, is because they've never had to change who they are to blend in. And, what's old is new again. What's out of fashion is in fashion. I just find it really cool and curious that, Harley Davidson, as a retro themed motorcycle, which it's not, it's just a Harley Davidson motorcycle, would now fit into what people would call a retro bike. It would just be really cool if we could get like the old school, some type of a cafe style Sportster to get released. I just think something like that would be pretty slick. But let me get back into you guys, and then we're going to be wrapping up this short show here pretty quickly. Sovereign, did you hear about the news about a proposed buyback for Chrysler? There's been some talk about it, but I don't really put a whole lot of stock into that at this stage of the game. I think it's a bunch of folks that I think it's a little bit more rumor than reality just yet. Shane, as far as good LS shops and tuners in SoCal or southern regions, man, I'm sure there's a ton. It just depends on what southern region are you in? May be able to help, but I don't know of any off the top of my head. Goldfish is in saying, howdy, hope you're doing well. Last time you recommended the gear shift support for the Z900 RS. Yes. Were you talking about the Racer Torx? Yes. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Yeah, Race Torx is, I think, the one that I bought. I got a crick in my neck. I don't know what this is. I don't know what I did. I think I was sleeping and I went to like prop myself up or something and snap my neck all up. And the other day I was walking around like Michael Keaton Batman. Like I couldn't even turn my neck. At least it's getting better. But yeah, the Race Torx is the one that you're looking for. It's got a bearing in it. And again, it comes with the 2 bolts, super easy to install. All you got to do is just put them in wrist tight and you're good. Sovereign said, yeah, I hate that. Pain sticks with you all day. This has been like this for like a week, man. It's been crazy. I can at least turn my head a little bit. If I sit for too long in one spot, it'll get me. But yeah, saying getting old sucks. What's funny is that, in terms of like overall cardio, my cardio is really good right now. In terms of overall strength, lifting a lot right now. I'll park myself on a step or do my 1,000 steps in just the other side of 15 minutes. I throw weight around on bench. Not like I could when I was, playing ball, but it's not super far off. I'm not doing 315 for, sets of 6 to 8 anymore, but I can throw around pretty decent weight. Right. And the funny thing though, is I will find myself injured for seemingly no reason. Like I sleep is how I jacked up my neck is what I'm thinking. It's weird. Like you could press it right here and it was like I was getting tasered. It was like, what the hell is that? It was crazy. Like how it's, it's all sketched out. Anyway, it's getting better, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I can injure myself while I am unconscious, which I'm still to this day trying to figure out. It's funny that's how this works out. But anyway, guys, I guess the overarching idea for the video for me, for Harley Davidson is, is this a brand in decline? Is this a brand that's on the brink of, great things? And again, I don't really have an issue with how they've marketed to certain alphabet demographics. I really don't have an issue with that. But I have an issue with is really what seems like a decline in the overall it's like a decline in the overall impression of motorcycling in general, and folks just aren't really taking to bikes the way they used to. It's a bit of a representation of just folks aren't into it anymore. There's other things that you can spend your money on, and unfortunately, motorcycles cost a lot of money. They're expensive to maintain. They're expensive to insure. There's a lot of expense and a lot of headache that comes with these things that folks just really, it's not something they want to take on anymore. And so, yeah, I can only hope that, you know, folks will start to get into this stuff and start to enjoy it. I just don't know that, you know, with the products that Harley has and with the pricing and how they position themselves, I just don't see them doing very well, at least in the short term. And I don't know that they're going to be attracting a whole lot of new buyers. I think it's going to be a lot of legacy guys. And, you know, to be honest with you, I got to ask the question at least, how long can that go for? And again, I guess where I was going with that is I don't know that, you know, I don't have an answer, but I don't know that there's a lot of, I don't know that there's a lot of love or loyalty to that brand the way that the way that they're used to be. But sorry, you're definitely more fit than I don't know, man. Sometimes I don't feel that way. But yeah, I've got this. It's right, like right. Where can I find it? It's right. It was like right here. And if I stuck my hand in like in my arm, it's like, but it's like I say, it's not nearly as bad. It's migrated to the back of my neck. So we'll see. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. It's a bit of a short show tonight. Just wanted to touch base, give you guys my thoughts on some of the what some people are calling questionable marketing strategies. I think it's great, and I really don't have a problem, especially when I don't have, you know, I don't have a dog in that fight, so to speak. So anyway, with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Y'all have an amazing rest of your week, and we will catch you on the next one. That's a wrap.